everybody, welcome back to the Rocksmith live stream. My name's Dan Amrick. I'm the community developer. I don't have a cool nickname. I need a cool nickname. Chat room, come up with a cool nickname. For me, as your host for today's stream, I'm happy to say that we've got some big, thick, meaty slabs of classic rock to bring to you today. The 70s Mix 3 is this week's DLC for Rocksmith, and 3 stone-cold classic rock radio classics, classically trained musicians who have put them into classic... it's done. The joke's over. What we're going to do is show you the stream, show you the trailer to kick off our stream. We'll come back. We'll play all 3 songs that you see in this trailer. We'll also give away some stuff from our friends at Ernie Ball. So if you're looking for free things or free songs, we have the DLC that we'll be playing. We'll be giving that away too. You also have an opportunity to do some Q&A with the developer team. Can I just do this whole thing all over? We'll start over right after this trailer.
Radio playing some forgotten song. Brand new coming on strong. The road has got me hypnotized, and I'm spinning into a new sunrise. When I get lonely and I'm sure I've had enough, she sends a comfort coming in from above. We don't need no letter at all. We've got a thing that's called red eye love. We've got a light in the sky. Red eye love.
Yes, hopefully you recognize those songs. I recognize those songs. This has nothing to do with how we choose DLC, but as a lifelong Jethro Tull fan and mocked for it, I'm really happy to see Jethro Tull join the library this week. I'm also happy to see 2 people join me on in the set here in Studio R. Lovely Anthony Martinez in the middle, and only slightly less lovely Adrian Comale on the side. You know Anthony because he's one of the note trackers, and in fact, you note tracked this song, I believe.
That's correct.
You may not know Adrian because Adrian doesn't visit us too often But Adrian is one of our data scientists. You are a lead data scientist? Is that like official, or are you just
data science
manager?
speaking, but
well, excuse me. We'll put you.
Congrats
at the front
again
tape.
on the promotion, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for being completely oblivious to the fact that you were promoted.
I tell people I do data stuff, and
Yeah.
most of the time they leave me alone. No
And
one
they
wants
go-
to know more about my job than that. Trust me.
They go, ew, data. Ew.
Math.
But first song is "We're an American Band" by Grand Funk Railroad. Anthony, you did it, and as soon as you found out this was coming, you were like, "Oh, I want to play! I want to play!"
Oh yeah.
Is this one from your past? Is this one? That you
Yeah,
grew
I mean,
up with?
I lived. I moved to San Francisco from Michigan, and GFRs. They're from Flint, and they're one of these bands that people in Michigan are still very. Yeah, so
Proud
they were,
of.
yeah, no,
Sure.
I mean, they were a great band, and I love this song, so I was like, hey, let's do
All
it.
right.
Here we are.
I heard you playing this throughout the week, actually, Anthony. What were you trying to get down? What did you find out when you revisited this song some 2 months after you actually did the original version of it?
There are definitely some fast licks in the intro and solo sections of the song. Yeah, I just wanted to, refamiliarize myself with the song that I worked on months ago. And that sort of tends to be the case, whenever we go on the stream, I just like to revisit the charts that I worked on and the charts that I'll want to play. But this song is so much fun, like on all paths. The bass arrangement is surprisingly busy.
I can't wait to see.
Oh yeah. I was gonna play that, and then I don't have a bass at home, so I was like, well, that's not happening.
Practicing the parts that I have access to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I was flirting with the idea of playing it, but it was just one of those things where it's hard to choose, because all
And
arrangements
that
are
solo
fun.
is sweet. Like that solo is really cool.
It's a lot of fun. Hopefully I can play it. But
let's find out.
Can we just go into riff repeater, slow it down 50%?
It's a little late for that. We're an American Band by Grand Funk Railroad, one of the 3 songs in the 70s Mix 3 pack. After this, we will do that first giveaway with some gear from Ernie Ball.
Oh, that reverb.
I know, right? Oh, I know Condescending Brendy is in the chat room, and he's the guy that's in charge of our tones. He's our tone chaperone. He's got a nickname.
That's us. so
You're right.
good.
It's so much fun. And I already have a question from you, from Bitspiel. Can you ask Anthony for tips on making that chukka sound? So this is, I believe, the right-hand palm mute and strumming.
Absolutely, yeah. Those are fret hand mutes. And yeah, both Adrian and I played them during the main riff. And all I'm doing really is I'm maintaining the position of the D5 chord. I'm assuming it's you're talking about this part.
Yep.
So what I'm doing is I'm maintaining the positioning of that D5 power chord, but what I'm doing is I'm lightly touching all the strings. I'm not pressing down on the strings behind the frets hard enough to make notes ring. So what I'm doing is I'm easing up off of those notes a little bit, and I'm lightly touching the low E string with my index finger, which is actually responsible for hitting that D note here in the D5 chord. And my index finger is also muting the B and E strings just by lightly touching them. And that allows me to actually hit all of those strings without creating a pitch. And so that's essentially how I'm doing it. If I were to slow it down and I were to play that power chord, you could see I'm hardly moving my left hand, and I'm just flattening my finger a little bit just to lightly touch the strings.
Isn't there a bunch of wah on those mutes in the song too? That might be like the person's asking about, like the specific tone they're hearing might also.
It might be. I know
think
there's
the
a-
intro
oh, okay.
has the intro part. I think has some wah that, like that stuff. I think there's a wah on it, so that might. Be
There's
part
also
of
a
what you're hearing
phaser
as
on
well.
that solo. I wonder if it might be phaser, which gives it some of that same body.
Yeah.
I love
sure,
phaser.
yeah,
Phaser
yeah.
was like super overused in the 70s in the same way that chorus was overused in the 80s. So now you can't use either of those. They're two of my favorite effects, but you can't use either of them without people going, "Oh, totally 70s, dude.
Yeah.
Way to go, phaser."
If I were using a wah pedal and I were playing I played that same figure, it would give that like chukka, like wow 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 sort of like voodoo child sound
Right.
effect.
That was just the point I was making. Was
Yeah.
if they're looking for that specific sound, that
Yeah,
might
you
be
might-
another thing you're looking for. It's not just the, you know.
Yeah, the cocked wah sound is, and there's actually pedals that if you don't want to get a wah pedal, you can get pedals that simulate that sound, and where you dial in exactly where you want it to be. Because obviously a wah pedal, moves a lot, and you might not have it exactly where you want it. So now there's people that make pedals that's just the filter of having the wah in a very specific position, and it's just a momentary on-off. You don't have to. Have to do. Yeah. So there are many ways to get those sounds.
Yeah, but
for
by
sure.
a proper wah though, it's better.
But buy a proper wah because they're a lot of fun.
yeah.
Excellent. Thank you both.
Of course,
Thank you
yeah.
for
Much
having us.
appreciated. Hey, who wants free stuff? You do. I know. Well, I'm sorry, you're not eligible, but everybody else can win everything they see right now. Ernie Ball has once again graciously granted us some free stuff to pass on to you. Everything you see here is going to go into a box that I send to you, hopefully right after the show. I don't like to sit on the prizes. I like you to get the prizes as fast as possible. So what I tend to do is, assuming that you are the winner of the MooBot drawing that UB Vertigo is currently hosting, he will contact you privately here on Twitch, probably in your other messages, in a private message, and confirm that you're the winner and ask you for your contact information. And he's looking for your name, your address, and your phone number. And the only reason we collect all of that stuff is so that if there's a problem with the package delivery company can contact you directly, and they don't send it back to us. But if you are the winner and you get that magic message from UB Vertigo himself, then this is what you'd win. You'll win a brand new set of regular Slinky guitar strings, as well as regular Slinky bass strings, a peg winder, which makes changing strings a lot easier, a brand new strap. At the moment, they're silver. Some Wonder Wipes, which keep your guitar nice and minty fresh. I really recommend this for people that may be, let's say, not the most... what's the word I'm looking for? You're not really keeping up with the maintenance of your guitar. You don't polish it enough. You don't clean it enough. This makes that a lot easier. And then, of course, picks. Everybody loses them. Everybody likes to look cool by having them like in the ashtray of their car, So you can get a dozen from Ernie Ball and 3 of our hot pink Skullboy Rocksmith picks. which is the current design and only available here on our twitch.tv stream. So good luck to you. If you don't win the first one, fret not. Don't worry. We're going to give away another box that looks uncannily just like that one. And we also have some DLC to give away before the end of the show. So if you don't win the first one, obviously, we're putting the milk at the back of the store so that you will stick around and hopefully be with us for the whole hour and change. If you're just joining us, hi, you're late, but it's you missed a really good song too. It's a shame. It's 70s Mix 3 this week is our DLC pack, and we've played Grand Funk Railroad. Now we're going to get into Aqualung featuring none other than Jason Kokel and David Stevens. Hi, fellas.
Hello.
Howdy.
Jason, I've heard you playing this a lot this week and sort of digging into Martin Barr's solo. Martin is one of my favorite guitarists because I grew up listening to Jethro Tull. I think he's terribly underrated. He's not one of those people that leaps to mind as a guitar hero the way that, like Hendrix and Clapton and Page and sort of all the traditional British guys have. But man, he plays with a lot of taste. And this is probably his most famous solo. But how did you approach it? Is this one that you're just going to have to slow down?
Well, I did. Only because I actually note tracked this a long time ago, and we had it in the schedule a long time ago, and then we had to do some shuffling, and so it was done. It had been sitting done, not a year, but pretty close.
Right.
Like it was sometime early last year that I did, or mid of last year. So I hadn't looked at it in a long time, at least 6 months. So I slowed it down because it's difficult to memorize. It's one of those solos that has a lot of ideas, a lot of pentatonic ideas, and he just sort of skips notes here and there randomly. And so once I got it to where I had the whole solo highlighted and at full speed, I missed 10 notes out of it. I was like, that's good enough.
Acceptable.
Yeah, I'm
Beyond
fine.
acceptable.
I'm fine with that. But this song is like one of the best songs ever written. I mean, it's basically early heavy metal at its it defined so much after it. I too grew up listening to it. My dad was a big Jethro Tull fan and still is, and so as a little kid listening to this record and Thick as a Brick.
Thick as a Brick. I love Minstrel in the Gallery. Minstrel in the Gallery and Songs on the Wood are my two favorites from the mid 70s. But regardless, David, you jumped on bass as soon as you had the opportunity. You a fan as well, I take it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is as classic as metal gets.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's do it. If you're cool with that, let's do Aqualung by Jethro Tull, one of the 3 songs in this week's 70s Mix 3 DLC. And unsurprisingly, a little bit later on, we'll talk about the other 2 70s Mix packs that preceded this.
Hey!
think he's actually singing an F.
Aqualung, my friend, don't just start away uneasy. Your poor old sod, you see it's me. Sitting on the park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intent. Snot running down his nose, greasy fingers smearing shabby clothes. Hey, Aqualung, drying in the cold sun, watching as the pretty panties run. Hey, Aqualung, feeling like a dead duck, spitting out pieces of his broken luck. Hey, Aqualung.
You nailed that solo.
Thanks. Yeah,
That's-
it was
it
fun.
sounded
Really
really,
good.
really good. David, I have a question for you.
Yes.
That I believe was it Bisco Bid Burn 1 2. Somebody asked me a question. Oh, there it is. Bitchspiel asked when you guys do Q&A. When you guys do QA on the tracks, 'cause David is our local QA ninja, but you work with a team in Budapest, right? Or
Bucharest.
Bucharest. Wrong one.
Close.
I don't
You're
know.
only like 500 miles off.
Yeah. So, throw a dart. I would probably, yeah. When you do the QA, somebody asks, do you go through each and every level for the song as the dynamic difficulty ramps up?
We do everything.
I was going to say.
Believe it.
Yeah. I thought like at maybe the guys in Bucharest were doing every little thing and you were double checking or answering questions or stuff, but I've seen you at your desk going through songs
Yep.
multiple
and
times.
the note
so-
trackers too.
Okay.
It's a very big group effort, and
But you can take credit for it. It's all right. Jason's not going to stab you with
big
that
shout out
headstock.
to
That's fine.
Bucharest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bucharest
those
is
guys-
actually
those
the
guys
team.
work hard and play hard.
Yeah, and they do not get as much face time as our local folks
Yep.
do. But
Yep,
yeah,
we certainly appreciate them.
cool.
Yeah. So, to that, also echoing that, there was a point where in Rocksmith 1 and actually early days of Rocksmith 2014 development, every note tracker had to riff repeat every level of every phrase in order to catch errors.
Sure.
But that's no longer the case because I wrote automated scripts that take care of that. That saves days off of production time. I mean, like easily per person cycle, because some songs you can get riff repeated in a full day, but other harder songs it would take longer. You might
Right.
have to.
I can only imagine.
Glad
Hendrix.
it's been years since we've had to do that. But the neat thing about with this song, there's four guitar arrangements and one bass arrangement, because that acoustic guitar part in the later on in the song is played with a capo on the 3rd fret. So you can't do that all of a sudden, throw
Right.
it on here, and our interface doesn't support that. And the electric part was just done, and then they played most of it on acoustic and electric with the capo, and then the solo was not done with that. So the song was kind of recorded in pieces in order to make it playable so that the lead guitar part doesn't lay out for 2 or 3 minutes, is to adapt the chords. And that's why the chords are a little bit harder to play on the lead path, because if you have 1st fret capo here and you're playing this F chord,
Right.
that's what gives it that sound instead of, which we had to adapt for that, so that but if you're playing the rhythm path, it's pretty much all capo, and it is the guitar part as it was recorded. But
So the lead the default lead is the amalgam, and
Yes.
the alternate lead is
also an amalgam, but the harmonies to the intro riff.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so there's that. There's the, but it's whatever that
Right.
that I've yeah. The,
Oh, yeah, I know what
that
you
little
mean.
harmony to the main riff, and then the rhythm path has it just has those chords. It just has those chords, and that's it. You know,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Thank you for explaining, because I'm
You're welcome.
sure
Yeah,
it would have come
there's-
up
Yeah,
as
and
soon as you left.
And I
Somebody
thought
would
there,
ask.
yeah, and actually, yeah, that this one there is only, I think there is only 3 guitar arrangements, and then plus the bass. I don't think there was a fourth. Again, this was done a long time,
Right.
It was done a long time ago, and I just was like, well, I'm going to play the lead path because that's
That's
got the,
so
it's
much
got
fun.
The ripping solo.
Sure.
in
Yep.
it.
And
Yeah.
that riff, man, those 6
Yeah,
notes,
yeah, that's
so
yeah,
iconic.
I know. Yeah, you can't. I really think that there's not anything heavier than that. I mean, and the pause in between too.
Yeah.
It's
Sort
like
of
a
like it just
chasm.
hangs
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
it's
coming
great.
back.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank
Well,
you both so much.
thank
I
you.
love hearing that song.
Me too.
Hey, we've got a short break here, and during that short break, you're going to get a chance to win DLC. So if you like what you just heard, and you want to get a copy of, say, Aqualung, well, we're going to give you Steam codes. We've got 5 Steam codes to give away, so 5 winners are going to get all 3 of this week's songs. If you win the raffle that's about to happen, just follow UB Vertigo's advice in our chat room and enjoy this look at sort of an older behind-the-scenes video of why Rocksmith looks the way that it does. This didn't just happen. This was an intentional design decision, and there's a short documentary. So if you haven't seen that, enjoy it, and good luck in the chat giveaway, and we'll be right back with more music after this.
We've made a lot of games, and between us we've made dozens and dozens of million-plus selling games. But Rocksmith is the only one that I've worked on that I've seen it change lives. Because a few people in a back room in San Francisco, with the help of a few studios dotted around the world, buckled down and delivered on something that we've all been dreaming about. So we set out immediately to do something different.
You know, with Rocksmith 1, there was no game that went before us that we could say, it's kind of like that. We went down an avenue, we went down an obvious avenue too, just trying to understand the heritage of the guitar, the heritage of the music. That takes you down a certain avenue, a certain channel. And if you were to look at the reference of this stuff and to ring it out, then it will take you to the direction of Rocksmith 1.
Rocksmith 1 was kind of dark. It had this kind of, I mean, we referred to the main space as a man cave. For many of us, that's not what music is. And although it's called Rocksmith, it's really, Musicsmith just doesn't sound as good. When we go to work on a sequel, we start looking at how do you make sure it feels completely different from the start. And we started to talk about how do you make it feel open and airy and nice and friendly and less intimidating.
We had this idea of this is inclusive, and it's the opposite of man cave, but it's still credible. Like, we were always hanging on to the credibility, you know, the gear and the guitars and all this stuff. My favorite phrase in the world with regards to this is blues lawyer. Like, guys who can play a little bit, who buy like really expensive tacky guitars. We wanted to stay out of that.
That's not particularly everyone's cup of tea.
Right.
You know, we did want to be a lot more fun. You know, we wanted to appeal to a broader audience. You know, in our working environment and in the presentation of Rocksmith, it was very masculine. It was just
Boys
too
club.
much testosterone going on. In terms of art direction, looking at reference, we had to look at interior design, we're looking at fashion design, we're looking at album cover art, you know, we're really branching out in terms of what was relevant, what was fashionable.
We just started throwing everything at the wall that we could. It's not like we walked in one day and said, there's a white wall and some wood. And like, no, that was like a good 3 months. I was pulling a lot of reference for some character stuff that we were trying to explore from the Kills. And there was this great picture of the two of them, but it was like on this like blue linoleum floor with like a plain white wall. And I took that and I painted it out, and I kind of made it into this widescreen thing, and I was going to put the UI in front of it. And then Omar, we were talking about it, and he's like, it's really, really cold. We should put some hardwood. We should put a hardwood floor on that. And like, we did that, and we were like, that was it.
Yeah, and everyone that walked by said, cool, I love that. You know, just really, it's just the appeal of that landscape. You know?
When you see this image of a guy in a room like this, and you think, oh, that's cool, You know, I wouldn't mind being in an apartment like that, or maybe you do live in an apartment like that. And it looks friendly and normal and believable and honest.
The loft is slightly ambiguous on purpose, whether it be a loft or a gallery space or a studio space. People make their own interpretation of that, and in doing so, that's their level of attachment to that space. The set for the lesson video, it was essentially our ideal studio space.
We really wanted to brighten up the game, so it's just all that more inviting. You could really just feel like, yeah, I could learn guitar here.
I think it works. You know, everyone that came into that space loved it. Everyone was really inspired by it, and we didn't want to take it down.
We talk about the menus a lot. And trust me, we talked about them a lot over the last few years. It started off by just talking about it and saying, we're going to do this and we're just going to have it wide open. So you see the main menu and it's just bam, 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 bam. These are the things you need. It's clear that it's going to be readily accessible. So those changes in structure, all those things, really comes out of listening to the feedback, reading the reviews, and our own personal experiences.
The visuals for the game, we wanted something very audio reactive. And the first one we were very literal in terms of we put you on stage, you were playing in front of an audience, and you were in a club, you're in a
And those are
dive
real
bar.
people. I can see her eyes right there.
We were very literal, and we spent a lot of time and resources creating those things that weren't really essential for you learning the guitar. We needed something in a backdrop that would help and encourage and be emotive. And so we went quite far in the direction of audio, reactive graphics.
Procedurally driven by your guitar.
You know, it's you and your energy and your sound driving those visuals, you know.
It's your vision quest.
The only area that we're really full on with stylistically was the guitarcade area. You know, it had to be a contrast. It had to go bang, you know, you're in guitarcade. It had to really shout out at you.
But even then, you're not literally in an arcade.
No.
But again, was another happy accident because we were going to do that, and then we had to dial it back.
Yeah.
I should say that we did it on purpose and we look like geniuses.
Aesthetically, games are like stunted, right? And so there's always that little bit of like, we could do better than that.
There's this pursuit for realism, isn't there, which is one direction. And that's just one side of it. I think in video games, there is a level of responsibility to do something very creative as well and really branch off in that direction. And we're not bound by reality.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rocksmith live stream. If you're just joining us, we're about halfway through. My name is Dan Amrick. I'm your community developer on behalf of Rocksmith, and as has been determined, I don't really have a cool nickname. I'm not, you know...
You're an American Dan.
I'm an American Dan. Yes, you can do Dan puns until the cows come home, but I was looking for something a little bit more interesting. This is Brian Pody. He's one of our many note trackers here, and oftentimes you'll find him hiding behind the board, the wheels of steel that run the stream with Travis. But Travis is all alone back there now with only Anthony to keep him company. Yeah, I know. Anthony's like, what am I, chopped liver? You are. And we're here to play a song that's not in the 70s Mix Pack 3 because what happens on weeks where we have 3 songs instead of 4, we find another song to play. Sometimes we pick something that's thematically appropriate, you know, something in the same genre or from the same era, and what we realized we really need to do is sell the product. So I believe it was Brian Pody that said, why aren't we playing one of the songs that comes out on iOS as our bonus song when we need one? I'm like, that's a really good idea, and I can't believe that it never occurred to me. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to play, as some of you know, Rocksmith is currently available for free on iOS in Canada. We're in a soft launch period. And that means that it's free to play. It's going to actually, I believe, it's going to be free to play. Last time I checked, but we're also releasing DLC songs from the major Rocksmith library. As we can get the special mobile clearances that we need, we release them over there as well. And so we'll show you all of those songs later. But the one we're going to play now is one that I just randomly picked because I liked it and I wanted to play it. And it's "The Rock Show" by Blink-182. We have a Blink-182 pack. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was kind of like, all right, well, let me look at what's there and, you know, what's fun and maybe a couple songs that people may not realize that we even have. And of course, we've got a slide later on that says we have this.
We do.
But in the meantime, and
I even remembered to put them in after you mentioned it a few minutes ago.
oh, I appreciate that very much. So you're playing bass, which is something that we almost never see you do, and I'm playing guitar, which is something that they almost never see me do.
Yeah, we swapped.
But you were going to play lead on this. Were you the note tracker on this?
No, I feel like this was.
Oh, this was Jason Kokol. This was
Yeah.
one of Kokol's, and we said, if there's 2 songs in the same week, you get a bye. Somebody else can do that for you. And you said, I can play that. And then I said, well, I kind of want to play rhythm on this because I love pop punk, and it's straightforward enough, and I feel confident that I can at least get 80%. And you said, "Oh, I was gonna play that guitar. I was gonna play this guitar.
I was gonna play that Nighthawk," and I'm like, "Fine, if I can't play the cool Gibson Nighthawk,
Then
just
I
not
don't
want
want to play guitar at all." Right? Exactly. I'm taking my bass and going over here.
Yeah.
So for anybody that wonders, this is a Gibson Nighthawk from which is 2011, right?
Sure.
Yes, it is, based on the serial number. This is not a Les Paul. It's a different thing. It's actually a Fender scale of 25.5 inches, so it plays a little bit different. It's got a very nice shallow neck. Every once in a while, both Fender and Gibson will sort of create a design that sort of aims at the other market just to see what will happen. This week at NAMM, Fender introduced a Telecaster that has a lot of visual appointments of a classic Les Paul. So this goes both ways. This was sort of their, well, what if we approached the Fender sort of design but did it in a Gibson way? So that's why you've got 2 humbuckers, and you've got a 5-way selection switch. You've got a center coil, which is a rail pickup as well. And then as we just found out now, hey, it's coil tapped.
Yeah.
So if you want a single coil in the bridge, very much like a Strat, you just do that to the knobs. And
it's got the very different for Gibson bridge.
yes, it has a very Fender-style bridge with individual saddle pieces that you can raise and lower. So yeah, this was actually the guitar that Paul Cross kept at his desk for a good long time until we stole it away from him, and it needed a little bit of work. So we cleaned it up, and here it is. So there you go. I have nothing else to say, and I think I've said too much. So would you like to play some Blink-182?
Yeah.
After this, we'll do some Q&A. So let's play the song, and then if you have questions for the team, keep in mind that UB Vertigo is standing by and trying to document those questions as we go along, so that when we get to the Q&A section, we'll have them waiting for us.
Hanging out behind the club on the weekend, acting stupid, getting drunk with my best friends. I couldn't wait for the summer and the Warped Tour. I remember it's the first time that I saw her there. She's getting kicked out of school 'cause she's failing. I'm kinda nervous 'cause I think I'll imitate me. She's the one, she'll always be there. She took my hand and that made it, I swear. 'Cause I fell in love with the girl at the rock show. She said whoa, and I told her that I didn't know. She's so cool, and it's sticking through the window. Everything's better when she's somewhere. Coming to the parents go out of town. I fell in love with the girl at the rock show. When we said we were gonna move to Vegas, I remember the look her mother gave us. 17 without a purpose or direction. We don't know anyone, I need explanation. I fell in love with the girl at the rock show. She said what, and I told her that I didn't know. She's so cool, and it's sticking through the window. Everything's better when she's around. Can't wait till the parents go out of town. I fell in love with the girl at the rock show. Getting a picture of
Oh, what happened?
I waited for her call. She always kept me waiting. And if I ever got another chance,
I haven't.
I'd still ask her to dance.
Nothing wrong with the game.
Kept me waiting. I'm now in love with the girl at the rock show. She said what, and I told her that I didn't know. She's so cool, and it's sticking through the window. Everything's better when she's around. Can't wait till the parents go out of town. I fell in love.
You wanted to play the alt lead right now.
Right. That was in the practice that I did. I just completely forgot. I got so into the power chords.
Some of these Blink songs have some pretty challenging arpeggio section.
Yeah. Oh, what's my age again? Comes to mind. Play really quiet. Fade out. So it's as luck would have it, that shows the technique that Anthony was using on Grand Funk Railroad with a lot of I was not only doing right hand mutes and fret hand mutes, but I was also leaning into it with the palm of my right hand to get that chunky sound. That is a song that I would call a confidence builder. If you're looking to do rhythm guitar. Obviously, a lot of power chords, a little bit of extra stuff. But, experienced guitarists look at that and go, that's easy. And yet people who have just started to play go, I think I can do that. So I would hope that you would approach it that way in terms of...
And it doesn't have to be through the fire and the flames to be fun.
No,
right?
it really doesn't. And again, that is a pretty basic, structured song. But I have a lot of fun playing it. And, it doesn't... Some people do equate difficulty with awesomeness. And difficulty is awesome. Sam is one of those people who's like, yeah, push yourself, go for the difficult stuff. And I understand, but some of us just enjoy playing guitar.
Yeah, it's
too.
important to have fun.
Sam, do you want to come out here for Q&A time? Because I'm going to go back to the Dan podium. You can come on in and talk with people.
I should go to the podium.
Would you like to stand at the podium?
It's okay.
Here, why don't you take this and we'll switch places, and you can get on these headsets. And I will start answering those questions that we promised we were going to do. So we didn't do this last week because I straight up forgot. Sam gave us some really good information on Mumford & Sons about picking styles, I believe.
The picking patterns.
Yeah, the picking pattern stuff.
Thumb 1, 2, and is that why you're having me up here to explain?
No, not at all. No, but I, as a result of we had that big substantial thing, so it felt like we had done Q&A. So I forgot to do Q&A last week altogether.
With no Q.
Yeah, there was just A's. So if you have Q's, and I'm going to take a look and see what we've got. I do have a question from Bitspiel. This is Sam Schwartz, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, of our note trackers, and Sam's going to be playing on the next song. And if you want that guitar, you can play that guitar.
I do, actually.
Okay.
I used to have one of these.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, mine was cooler than this one, though. Mine had a mini hum, and then it had a slanted...
The Epiphone. So Epiphone still makes this model, and I think Epiphone's maybe a version of the Gibson one.
Mine was a Gibson. And then, and the other thing that was really cool is it has a locking trem.
Okay, cool.
Which was really weird. I can't even
Gibson
think
with
of
a Gibson
guitar.
The Les Paul Access. Which Alex Lifeson,
yes, that's one of the only ones with a locking trem with a Floyd on it. But yeah, Epiphone still makes the Nighthawk, and they make it in that flavor with a mini hum in the middle, a single mini hum at the neck, a single in the middle, and then a slanted humbucker at the bridge.
Mine didn't even have a middle one. So
Interesting.
I think mine was just a mini hum in the neck and then a slanted.
Do you have any photos of this in your archive?
There is one.
I would
somewhere.
love
Actually,
to see this guitar.
Me playing at a hair salon. With a fresh, super cool haircut when I was 16 years old with my band.
Awesome.
It's really cool.
That's where people go for music.
We've got that old photo of Sam.
Oh, no, we don't. No, sorry. Yeah, it's damn it, man. I really wish we did.
Yeah.
We do have other old photos of Sam, which are wonderful and embarrassing, and I like using them. So anyway, if you have questions, now's a good time to ask them. UB Vertigo is going to help me organize them. But Bitspiel says, with respect to guitar pedals, why is the norm a large collection of individual or discrete pedals as opposed to a computer-enhanced large monolithic switchboard? This is an interesting question for this company because... Sam, you have a lot of individual pedals on your board.
Now,
right.
I've tried. To
I have 10 on mine.
You know who's really good equipped to answer this question is Brian Shu, who's also.
Brian Shu, do you want to? Brian Shu's not interested in talking
Maybe
today.
He's not interested, but
he just gave a really good answer. You just couldn't hear them.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
But you use individual pedals generally as a default, and you still use a multi-effects processor, an ADA MIDI-based.
That's just a preamp.
Oh, that's just your preamp.
I don't tend to use effects pedals.
That's
I
right.
just turn everything up to 11 and make it scream for mercy.
Yeah. And that's how you get good tone, honestly. Some of the greatest tones in rock and roll are simply created by turning the damned amp up so loud that it wants to melt.
Yes.
And that's that beautiful saturated overdrive and sometimes a distortion tone.
It's not
that
always
people,
usable. But
yeah, but it's
good.
a lot of fun, and as long as you don't mind replacing the tubes and the parts inside
it's
that you're
always
cooking.
usable once, right?
Right. It's just loud.
It's always the right tone. Sometimes it's the wrong crowd.
Yeah. I'm building a.
That's a really good way to put it. I like that.
I'm building a 1-watt amp to try to kind of get around this.
Okay.
In all my spare time.
So I would argue that here's a plausible answer, maybe not the answer. Why do people tend to think of effects and still use effects as discrete single-use boxes rather than multi-effects pedals? And I've had both. For years, I played through a Pod HD 500 or 500 HD. I've also used the Pod XT. That was my main thing when I was in a band. And that was easy. It was super easy. And if I'm playing at a casino or in a small club and people are drinking and they don't care about the purity of tone, if they just want to hear Footloose or they just want to hear Walk Like an Egyptian or something, it's really easy to be like, here's a digital replication. They're like, that's great, and it's super easy.
So another way to think about this question, like if you had to use say you had to use one brand of everything, like that's one of the reasons that I wouldn't go. If maybe I want to have the Ernie Ball strings, but I want to have them on my Gibson guitar.
Right.
I don't want to necessarily have my Ernie Ball strings on my Ernie Ball guitar on my Ernie Ball amp with my Ernie Ball cord.
Right.
And that's what you have with a multi-effects board.
You have Line 6's definition of overdrive, distortion, chorus, phaser.
And it's all that packaged into one thing.
Right.
Like Axe does, I think, a really good job of making that happen. And Kemper, I think, is what Shane has talked about. Kemper.
I love the Kemper. Yeah, it's it's a digital modeling amplifier head.
Right.
But you can literally hold up a microphone to your friend's amp that you love the sound, and it will analyze it and then replicate it.
Right. And there's
response.
and the other thing is sometimes you do want, like I used to have a Boss multi-effects pedals, which is the equivalent of Ernie Ball strings, Ernie Ball guitar, Ernie Ball, and I liked that for a really long time because there's certain aspects of that thing that I liked. But then there was other things that with the Line 6 delay that I have, like I like having those options. I like having 3 or 4 different distortions that, like, honestly, if I could have, like, 47 distortion pedals, I would just have 47.
I know, you bought one of mine. You made it 48.
Yeah, I bought one of yours because I was just like, oh, my God, that's
what I don't have.
Right, it's a thing I don't have, and it sounds so good with my telly, but then it's like, well, it doesn't necessarily work with everything. And so,
that's why I sold it.
Yeah, so it's really cool to have, like, a lot of different options, and I think that's why people buy single pedals.
I think you're right. There's a purity of tone argument, too. Now, again, keeping in mind that, like, digital effects have come a long way in a short amount of time, but there is a sense of this is a perfectly curated collection of pedals that meets my needs, that is stuff that I want. Whereas you don't get that kind of flexibility. You get ease of use out of a multi-effects, but some people just don't like the sound of all digital effects. They want the classic sounds. The classic sounds are all based on analog pedals, so that's where you get into little pedals that are built very specific ways with old-fashioned parts and true bypass, or this should be buffered to be, you get into the weeds pretty fast. But it's certainly cheaper and easier to get a multi-effects thing, but it may not do everything that you want.
Well,
that's the short
also
version.
it's a good way to start out.
Absolutely.
Like for me, I totally had one of those forever.
I had a Zoom 505.
Yeah.
Do you remember those things? They were like that big.
Is the one where you could keep clicking?
Yeah. You go through banks. And oh man.
So mine was I had a Boss. What is it? ME70 forever. And
okay.
It was great. Like it did everything I needed it to do for the most part. And then it would be like, sometimes I don't exactly like the distortion sound. And then what happened was I kind of gradually moved away from it. Like I was like, okay, well, I want to have another delay pedal. And then I was like, I wanted to have a wah pedal. And I started realizing like I was using it less and less. And it takes up a lot of real estate on your pedal board, so or a lot of floor space. So sometimes then you're just like, what if I just didn't have it? And then you start sort of screwing around with single pedals, and it's just more customization. And it depends on what you want. Like my friend Chris bought that multi-effects pedal, and he's really happy with it. It works really well for him because he doesn't have a lot of other pedals. He's not trying to get into a bunch of different stuff, and it really works for him. So there's not like a wrong answer. It's just like whatever kind of fits the mood or whatever you're trying to do.
I went crazy buying pedals about a year ago, and it's this year that I've started to divest of them. Like I sold you the OCD that didn't quite meet my needs.
Right.
I just sold a Mimic pedal, which is like it gives you the sound of double-tracked guitars live, and I thought it would be a much more dramatic thing. It's great if you're playing metal and you want that sound, that chugga-chugga sound.
It up. It's probably like a 20 millisecond delay.
Yeah, that's what it was like. It was like a very small delay, although some people call it a chorus pedal for kind of the same reasons because it's modulating, but I have 3 other chorus pedals that I love.
Yeah.
and I had like a reverb pedal and a delay, a flashback delay, and I'm like, well, I could actually just use this flashback, and it's fun to play around with, but man, it does get expensive. And now that I know kind of like, okay, these work for me, I found an overdrive I really like. I actually, Brian Shue, I went with the Electro Harmonix Crayon as my main distortion, and I love it. I run the Soul Food into that so I can stack a little bit, but even just the Crayon alone, that's kind of the sound I'm looking for. It was very easy to dial in. It was Shue had said, he's like, oh, that's a fun pedal, and I was like, oh, that means something.
Yeah, Shue knows more about everything guitar than I do. Like, I just, I'm like, hey, Shue, what do I do? And he's like,
I have a question for you, Pody.
Right.
Burn121, we were talking about the Nighthawk, and we were talking about the fact that it had a slanted humbucker pickup. And Burn121 wants to know, what is the point of a slanted pickup? Like, what do you get out of that tonally? Because the Stratocaster did that for years. There's a straight pickup, a straight pickup, and a slanted single coil. Slanted humbuckers are a little less common, but Eddie Van Halen famously used one.
Yeah. It was pretty common in the 80s, actually.
Well,
okay. A lot of guitars with slanted humbuckers. Basically, the closer you get to the bridge, the more high-end frequencies you have.
Actually,
and the closer
we can demonstrate this. Can you turn on my guitar for a sec?
If you just
so
play
like, so I'm actually on the bridge pickup right now. So
yeah,
you see how it gets a little tinier. So if like, and that's not me. I'm not actually picking harder. It's just changing the tone. It's getting like a little sharper.
Switch to the neck pickup.
So we
so here's the neck humbucker.
And that's an extreme version of that. And,
right.
In a slanted pickup, it's much more subtle.
So you're just putting the pole pieces, the magnetic pole pieces, that much closer to the bridge and getting that much more high-end sort of like squeak or crunch out of it, depending on what you're doing.
Out of your low strings.
Right. Oh, okay, sure, because it shifts those back as well.
Right, it gives you a little bit more of a bassy tone, and then your treble strings.
And sometimes you see them slanted the other way.
That's true.
But not very often.
Not very often.
Occasionally, but like, what's the benefit there? Or is it just more of a stylistic thing for what kind of music you want to play?
I think it's more of a, whoa, that looks cool thing.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that.
Perfectly honest.
There is that. We have a left-handed Strat in the office. I think it's a Squire Strat, and I noticed that one.
Dude, everything on that guitar is the wrong way.
Well, yes, that's why it's a.
But that's part of the Hendrix thing. He's got a right-handed Strat, strung left-handed, so his bridge pickup's tilted.
That
the wrong
is
way.
true. That is part of his tone, and you will see sometimes right-handed guitars with like in a Hendrix formation. Where the electronics follow what Hendrix was doing, even if the body shape is more comfortable for people playing it. I've also seen people take left-handed guitars and string them righty so that they could be the Hendrix thing, and I'm just like, you're making really? Did we string ours?
We have a right-handed guitar strung left-handed and a left-handed guitar strung right-handed.
Of course we do. Why wouldn't we? Hey, we have to test every possible configuration, right?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Okay. We have actually run out of time. I do see that there's. One more question here from Sombrez. I don't know if there's a quick way to answer this. Why do 2 separate harmonized guitar parts sound different than one guitar playing both at the same time? The separated sounds cleaner, and the combined sounds dirty. Is this just because you've got 2 completely different setups, 2 different guitars, and it's putting different kinds of frequencies into the mix, and therefore they mix differently?
Yeah, I think it's probably easier to play one part at a time.
Yeah,
is
sure.
part of it. Yeah, when you're actually playing those 2 notes at the same time on the same instrument, those frequencies interact in a different way than when they're separated and you're mixing them together.
If only we had just done a Rocksmith Encore 72 hours ago that talked about the way that those frequencies do interact.
Yeah.
That would be great if you wanted to go look at our previous shows and see Brian McCune's Physics of Sound and Music Part 2. Yeah, okay, that's fair. I'm sorry, we don't have a lot of time to go into that because it's getting late and we got to do stuff. So if you have more questions, don't worry. You can write to us on Twitter. We're at Rocksmith Game. We're at Ubisoft Studio SF. And we're also on Facebook, /Rocksmith and /Rocksmith Game on Twitter. So I think I already said that, didn't I?
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, in case you missed it, there are other songs out there from the 70s in our library. I'm sure you probably noticed that this was called 70s Mix 3, and I promised I would explain what was in 70s Mix 1 and 2, and I don't even have to because I wrote it all down for you. So if you are interested in more Stone Cold groups in the 70s, if there's one song on this page today that I would say do not sleep on, it's George Baker's Selection's Little Green Bag. What an awesomely fun bass line that is, and the guitar kind of follows the bass. Lots of fun, and you know this from the opening of Reservoir Dogs, as well as many other uses of the George Baker Selection. So if you didn't recognize the name, I'm sure you don't recognize the album cover. Isn't that hilarious? I love it. And then Jim Croce is another sort of dark horse candidate that you may not have expected, because a lot of what we do is, when you think of the 70s, you think of high-octane rock, you think of Cool Overdrive, stuff like that. But Time in a Bottle, if you're looking for something a little bit more delicate, that's available to you. Now, we played the rock show from iOS. There are other songs available on iOS this week, fresh. We do have some of the 70s mix here. As I've mentioned before, we do have multiple different licenses that we have to get. So when we get permission to include it in the console and PC versions of Rocksmith, that does not automatically extend over to the mobile version of the game. So we have to get extra permission to do that. We were able to do that for Radar Love and for We're an American Band, but unfortunately we don't have it for Aqualung. So instead, how about some Bob Dylan, Knocking on Heaven's Door, another really good classic song. Available now. And remember, if you have the iOS version, you can just play an acoustic guitar, just like you can hook up an amplifier, or a microphone to your console or PC and play acoustic guitar with Rocksmith on the standard version. On the mobile version, that microphone is already integrated, so it's even easier to play acoustic. So maybe that's how you want to learn that. I do not recommend using acoustic on Blink-182. You will probably have a lot more fun playing electric and plugging straight into your iPhone, iPod Touch, or iPad. But yes, the rock show is just one of the 5 songs available in the song bundle. You will notice that there's a difference between song bundles and song packs. When we're talking in the mobile and the iOS version of Rocksmith, the song packs match up exactly with what you can get on the console version. So if you see a song pack on one of those slides for iOS, you go, oh, I like all those. I didn't know those were in the game. That means you can get that same configuration, those same 3 songs as a pack and buy them all at once. If it's a bundle, that means that we're mixing up songs from different packs because, licensing, and some of the songs that we are bringing out for iOS were never in a pack. They came with the original Rocksmith 1 or with the original Rocksmith 2014 on disc songs. So we're mixing those in too, so you may see different configurations, but in case you're wondering, there is a distinct difference between packs and bundles, and that's what it is. You're here in time for our final song today. After this, we still have a giveaway to do, so stick around. But Sam is obviously still here. We didn't let him leave. And he is joined by the aforementioned Brian Shu, coming in on bass. Hi, Brian.
Hello.
You're both note trackers. You sit very close to each other, and I hear you guys jamming on jazz riffs an awful lot. The two of you like to play off of each other, don't you?
Actually, I'm just milking him for everything he's got.
Oh, you're like, hey, how do you do this thing?
Yeah,
oh,
it's a lot of hey Shu. That's all it is.
Show me this. Show me this.
Show me this.
You guys are going to play our last song, which is Radar Love by Golden Earring.
Yeah.
Many people were very happy to hear that it is the 6-minute album version and not the radio edit. How happy were you when you were note tracking this to find out that it was the 6.5-minute version?
Probably not as happy as they
were.
Yeah.
Fun song.
It's a
though?
really good song. Yeah. It was really great to note track. I love doing this song, man. Like it was great. There's a lot of really cool little things in here that maybe I'll go over if we have a second, but if we don't, it's all good.
Do you want to play it first?
Yeah, let's play it first.
You cool with that, Shu? Anything you want? All right, let's do it. Radar Love by Golden Earring.
Shu's got to work a lot harder on this one than I do.
Yes, he does. This is a really, really good bass workout.
Yeah.
One of the 3 songs in the 70s Mix 3 pack. After this, as mentioned, we'll give away some more Ernie Ball gear. Freddie King action going on there.
I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. There's a voice in my head that drives my heel. It's my baby calling, says I need you here. And it's 4:30 and I'm shifting gear. When she's lonely and the longing gets too much, she said the cable coming in from above. Don't need to put it on. We've got a thing, let's go, red and love. We've got a wave in the air, red I love. Radio's playing some forgotten song.
That part's really
Coming
weird.
on strong. The road has got me hypnotized. I'm spinning into a new sunrise. When I get lonely and I'm sure I've had enough, she says the comfort coming in from above. But don't need to let her alone. We've got a thing, let's go, let her love. We've got a night sky, red I love.
Oh man, that's so cool. Sort of.
In the style of.
In the style of. Les sort of.
People are digging your ad libs, by the way.
This is the Donkey Kong Country part.
That's such a quiet.
It's such a quiet little move.
No more speed, I'm almost there. Gotta keep cool now, gotta take care. Last car to pass, here I go. And the line of cars drove down real slow. And the radio played that forgotten song. And it's coming on strong. And the newsman sang his same song. Oh, one more radar lover gone. When I get lonely and I'm sure I've had enough, she says the comfort coming in from above. But don't need to let her alone. We've got a thing
Wow, that was.
Sorry.
What are you sorry about?
That ending part, I was just messing with him.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is really hard to play in time. Like that. Like, were you just playing like triplets or something?
Yeah, I actually think it's a weird rhythm at the end there.
You're not supposed to be screwing each other up. I love the fact that you still got 99%. So, I mean, goodness gracious, man.
Yeah, he'll always come up behind me and he'll be like...
Oh, my favorite thing to do in the office is to walk by someone playtesting a part and just like play the same thing but a half step up.
Oh,
or like when someone's transcribing. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's the riff.
Yeah,
that's the
there's
riff
that,
that always
yeah.
gets pulled out, right?
yeah.
The Greg Barr riff.
Yeah, we would do that, but we would all do it a half
Rest
step
in peace.
apart. Yeah, rest in peace. Great.
We miss you, Greg.
What'd he do? So one of us would go that way, and the other one would go down, and the other one would stay there.
That sounds terrible.
And then that corner broke up, and I can't figure out why.
Yeah. We have to separate them. There's an awful lot of that going on. You mentioned there were a couple things you wanted to address.
It was just that one really cool, like that he does, which I thought was really cool. It's all based around this this minor shape, this F sharp minor, which is like 11, 10. 9 on your top 3 strings here. Pretty typical minor shape. You see it a lot. It's like the top of this chord, right?
Sure.
But he does this really cool thing. He does. Which is really interesting. And the most interesting part about it is that he takes this orange 10 and bends it up to an orange 11.
Yeah.
And keeps this here. And so a lot of times you would see guitar players actually do it from here. You'd see them do it from the flat 7.
Yeah, that's very common. I've seen it.
That's what I thought it was, but it's... So he does it on the 10th fret, which like it confused me in transcription. It was the thing that like caught me off
It's
guard.
such a distinctive little riff, though.
Yeah.
So
like,
you know,
but
I'm
you'd
glad
think a guitar players would usually...
Yeah, whatever's easiest is what a lot of guitar players do.
Right, but he did that just because he just did it that way.
I love that, like, from betting from a wrong note into the right one, like up a half step.
Yeah. I was gonna say one of the other things that you can do to build on that concept is find chords where you can bend one of the notes into tune. Like I do that a lot with. It's like a big thing in country. Like Johnny Highland does it a lot. But he'll like. So if you're playing an A7, right, to get that chord, you can actually start from here. You can do that
That's
kind of
beautiful.
stuff, which is really cool. It's a cool like sounding thing. Or if you were trying to bend to like a major chord, you know, that kind of stuff. It's really cool. So you can try to find chords that you like, and then put a note maybe a step or two down and try to see if you can bend up to that. Like if you're playing an A chord, right? And
He's getting his revenge on you now. Oh, I think it's time to go. Thank you both. Hey, let's do that final giveaway. You guys can keep playing if you want, but let's do that final giveaway for the Ernie Ball gear. The Ernie Ball prize pack that you see here is going home with somebody, and it could be you if your name is chosen at random by Moobot. UB Vertigo is running the raffle shortly. Just wait for him to tell you when to start. Yeah, regular slinky strings for both your guitar and your bass, a peg winder, some Wonder Wipes, which is a nice way to keep your guitar minty fresh, as I like to say. It's polish, it's string cleaner, and it's fretboard moisturizer as well. And a lot of people don't do all of those things, and you should. Plus, a brand new strap from Ernie Ball. They're silver at the moment. Actually, it's very similar to the one that Sam was rocking on the Nighthawk today. And... picks as well. A dozen picks from Ernie Ball and 3 of our pink Skullboy picks, the Rocksmith picks that can only be found here on our live stream. So I wish you nothing but good luck, but if you do win, please do quickly look for the confirmation note from UB Vertigo so that you can send in your personal information so that I can send out a box as soon as humanly possible. I'm not going to stop you. It sounds great. So here's what we got going on next week. More DLC. We will be giving you guys a bit of a hint as to what is coming next week. This will be the Tuesday DLC. We'll certainly reveal some major information on Sunday and Monday of next week on Facebook and on Twitter. But if you'd like to get the super early version, then you got to go over to rocksmith.com. Check out our forums. And there you will find a puzzle tomorrow, some sort of thing that you have to figure out. Maybe it's going to be a bet you can't play this riff kind of thing, or like, do you recognize these notes? Or it could be an actual puzzle that Rolling Stone 222 puts together. I have not checked my email in a little while, so I don't know if the puzzle's ready for this week. But something will be waiting for you tomorrow at the forums at rocksmith.com. Work with the other folks that show up there, and together you can solve the puzzles and figure out what it is. And, of course, we will confirm when you guys get it right. So, other than that, I think we're in pretty good shape. Again, if you're up in Canada and you have the opportunity to check out Rocksmith on the iTunes Store, it's free. We'd love to hear your feedback, whether that's in our forums or through any of our social channels, Twitter or Facebook, or simply the iTunes Store itself. We love to hear those. We love to hear those user reviews. Sorry, that sounded really nice. You got my attention. And then he batted his eyelashes at me. I want that down for the record. We're gonna leave you with a look at the trailer for 70s Mix 3. Very happy that so many other people are super happy about this week's DLC. Hope this inspires you to pick up and play the guitar this weekend. Have some fun. Learn the songs that are already embedded in your heart. My name's Dan Amrick. I am your community developer, and we'll all be back next week with more songs, more giveaways, more thanks to Ernie Ball for giving you all those free prizes, and who knows what else. So see you back here Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC. And thanks again for joining us. We always love to have you guys here. Bye, everybody, from Rocksmith.
The radio plays some forgotten song.